Hello children, and welcome to Shiloh Sunday School. My name's Donna. How have you all been this week? I hope you've all been good. It's so lovely to have you back here again for us to continue our story about Moses. So do you remember what happened last week? Well, Moses is sent to go and tell Pharaoh to let the Egyptians go, but Pharaoh's being a bit stubborn, isn't he? Let's find out if Pharaoh still continues to be stubborn, or will he let God's people go? Let's find out. Are you sitting comfortably? You sitting back in your chair? You ready? Let's find out a little bit more what happened with Moses. The plague continues. Despite the first 3 plagues, blood, frogs and gnats, the Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites go into the desert to worship God. Therefore, the Lord sent great swarms of flies into Pharaoh's palace and the houses of his officials, but the flies did not enter Goshen, where the people of Israel actually lived. Then Pharaoh told Moses to have the people offer their sacrifices in Egypt. But Moses said, "We cannot do that. If the Egyptians see us offer sacrifices, they will be offended and they will kill us." Pharaoh then said they could go into the desert if they would not go too far. But when Moses prayed and the flies disappeared, Pharaoh became stubborn and would not let the people go. So the Lord sent a terrible disease on all the animals. The Egyptian horses, donkeys, camels and cattle died. The animals of the Israelites, however, were not harmed. But still, Pharaoh was stubborn. Next, the Lord told Moses to throw ashes into the air. All through the land, the people and animals got terrible boils which became open sores, but Pharaoh would not obey the command of the Lord. Then the Lord sent thunder and hail and lightning. It was the worst storm in Egypt's history. It killed all the people and animals out in the open and ruined the plants and trees. There was no hail at all in the region of Goshen, where the Israelites lived. At Pharaoh's request, Moses prayed for the hail to stop, but again, Pharaoh would not let the Israelites leave. So the Lord sent Moses to warn Pharaoh about a locust plague. When the officials heard this, they were afraid. They urged Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. Pharaoh told Moses and Aaron that the Israelites could go worship their God, but he would not let the women and children go. Then he drove Moses and Aaron out of his presence. The Lord caused an east wind to blow in great swarms of locusts. They covered the ground until it was black. They ate everything the hail had not destroyed. Not a green thing was left in all of Egypt. Then Pharaoh hurried, called Moses and Aaron and admitted he had sinned against God. Moses prayed and God caused the wind to blow the locust into the sea. But again, Pharaoh changed his mind. The Passover. In spite of many plagues sent by God, the Pharaoh still refused to let the Israelites go into the desert to worship. Several times Pharaoh had said they could leave, only to change his mind. So the Lord told Moses to raise his hand towards the sky. There was total darkness throughout Egypt for 3 days. The Egyptians could not see each other, and no one left his house during that time. In the area where the Israelites lived, however, there was light. Pharaoh called Moses and said, "You may go worship the Lord, your women and children may go too, but all your animals must stay here." But Moses answered, "No, we must take our animals with us. We must select the animals with which to worship the Lord. But until we get there, we won't know what animals we're supposed to offer in sacrifice." Pharaoh was very angry. "Get out of my sight! Don't let me ever see you here again! On the day I do, you will die." Moses left him saying, "All right, you will not see me again." The Lord said to Moses, "I will send only one more punishment on Egypt. After that, the Pharaoh will let you leave." Moses delivered God's final message at midnight. "I will go through Egypt and every firstborn son will die. Then you will know that I, the Lord, make a distinction between my people and the Egyptians." Moses continued, "All your officials will come to me and bow down and beg me to take my people and go away. After that, I will leave." Then in great anger, Moses left the still stubborn Pharaoh. Moses and the people prepared for their escape according to the Lord's instructions. They made ready for a celebration called the Passover. First, each family killed a young lamb or goat. Then the fathers took some of the blood of the goat or the lamb and smeared it on the doorposts and the beams above the doors of their houses, just as the Lord told them to do. That night, each family roasted its lamb or goat and ate it, along with bitter herbs and bread made without using yeast. Each person dressed for travel, ready to leave Egypt. God told the Israelites to repeat the Passover celebration every year to remind them of the special night, the night God passed over their houses when he killed the firstborn sons of the Egyptians. The Israelites leave Egypt. In accordance with God's directions, the Israelites had smeared blood on their doorposts. That evening, they celebrated the Passover feast in their homes. They were ready to leave Egypt. At midnight, the Lord passed through the land and killed the firstborn son of every Egyptian family. Pharaoh and his officials were awakened by loud crying. There was not one home in Egypt in which a son had not died. But the Lord did not harm the firstborn sons of the Israelites, who had marked their doorposts with blood. That night, Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron. "Get out, you and your people," Pharaoh cried. "Leave my country and worship the Lord as you wish. Take your animals and leave." All the Egyptians urged the Israelites to hurry and get out of the country. "We will be dead if you don't." They gave the Israelites gold and silver jewelry and fine clothing. The Israelites set out on foot. There were about 600,000 men, not counting the women and children. They also took their animals and many other people with them. The Israelites had lived in Egypt for 430 years. On the day the 430 years ended, all the tribes of the Lord's people left Egypt. Moses took with him the body of Joseph, who had ruled Egypt years before he died. Joseph had made the Israelites promise to take along his remains when they left Egypt. During the day, the Lord went in front of them in a pillar of cloud to show them the way. And during the night, he went in front of them in a pillar of fire. They could travel night and day. When the Pharaoh was told that the people had escaped, he changed his mind. He and his officials said, "What have we done? The Israelites have escaped. We have lost our slaves." The Israelites moved closer to the Red Sea. Suddenly they saw Pharaoh and 600 soldiers coming towards them in a war chariot. The Israelites were terrified. Wow, what another amazing story. I hope you've all enjoyed reading with me this week. You know, it reminds me of what God says in his word. If God be with us, who can be against us? So I hope you'll join me again next week to find out what really happened with the Israelites after Pharaoh was chasing them. So take care for now, And remember, be good. Take care. Bye for now. Bye.
Hello Sunday School. I hope that you've all had a wonderful, wonderful week. It's so good to see you all back again this week. For this week's Sunday School task, we'll be carrying on with our Moses theme. So we will be creating Moses themed board games. All you'll need for this is your colouring pens, some paper and yourselves. See you soon. So for this week, I created my board game previously, and I'm just going to talk you through all of the things that I did to help me create it. So the first thing that I did was decide what I wanted my board game to look like. So I had to think about all of the facts that I remembered about the story of Moses and what I wanted to include in my game. I decided to go with a theme of the 10 Commandments, but not all of the facts on the game are based on the commandments, but that's the design that I went with. So you can see that I've got 10 slates or 10 blocks of stone. I don't know if they look like stone to you because they're quite colourful, but they're representing those 10 commandments that Moses received from God. And on each slate, I've just got a fact about the Lord or a fact about one of the commandments. And again, they're not in any particular order, but just highlighting some of the things that I'd like to reinforce. So some of the learning that I'd like to remember as I'm playing the game. So for instance, number 3 says it's a Sabbath day and you need to rest, so you have to miss a turn. So you can be quite creative with how you decide to turn the facts about the 10 Commandments, if that's what you choose to go with some fun ideas for a board game. Number 8 says you listen to your parents, well done, so you can move on a space. Number 9 is trust in the Lord and he will direct your path. So it's not necessarily an instruction, but it's just a fact about the Lord. There's another one. So number 14 says you parted the Red Sea. Well done. Move on one space. So we all know that Moses parted the Red Sea in order for the Israelites to move through the Red Sea. So that's again reinforcing that learning about Moses' journey to the Promised Land. And then my end destination is the Promised Land, which I've represented as the sunshine in my picture. I've put some nice flowers around, some hills, some rocks, and you just have fun with how you create it and what kind of things you want to include. You could have characters, you could have Moses, you could have Aaron, anything that you'd like to include from what you've learnt about the story, but remembering to put those board game aspects in there. So missing a turn, moving ahead 3 spaces, going back 3 spaces. So again, like I've got number 7 here, Moses forgot his staff, and you know that Moses needs his staff, so you have to go back 3 spaces to collect it. So because I knew that I wanted more than 10 spaces on my game, I actually drew number 4, 5 and 6, and then at the top of the game, number 11, 12 and 13 as just little fill-in squares. So not actually part of the 10 commandments or part of those 10 slates, but just extra numbers that my counters could pass through as they move throughout the game. Now, in order to play the game, you will need some characters or some little toys or little things that you've made to represent the counters. And you can do that in many ways. You can use little Hatchimals, which is what I always love to go to, which is my daughter's favourite. So they're small enough to fit on each slate. So as I want to represent each person playing the game, you could create little characters on paper and cut those out. But again, once again, be creative with how you create those characters. Remember, we also have our Moses puppets, which we created last week, which you could also use to represent each person on the board game. Now, in terms of dice, I don't actually have any dice, so I decided to write numbers on 6 little pieces of paper, and I roll the dice by shaking the papers up in my hand and looking away and just picking a number out of my hand or out of the person that I'm playing with's hand, and then that number is the number that you're allowed to move. So for instance, if I pick out a number 3, then I'm allowed to move 3 spaces, just the same as if a dice landed on a number 3. So that's the way that you create dice without actually having any, so that you can play your board game. So off you go, have some fun, and let me know what your board games look like and tell me if they were fun to play. Well done, everyone. I hope that you had a wonderful time playing your board games with your families. But most importantly, I hope that you have remembered and have a clearer understanding of all of the things that Moses went through to lead the Hebrews out of Egypt. Well done. I'll see you next time. God bless you.